Howdy!
Welcome back to Urban Nerdettes,
your spontaneously random show for all things nerdy, geeky, and educational.
Today we're going to be talking about what books we're looking forward to reading in this new year of 2015.
So sit back, relax. We each have our own list, and it's going to take us a minute to get through it, but we're going to give you plenty of information along the way.
Some little points of interest. Number one, all the books that we talk about and the links are going to be down below in the description box. They are from Goodreads.com. They had a sci-fi fantasy list.
Yeah.
So that is what we're basing our reviews off of. Number two, our lists are on our phones. So you will see us look down and refer to notes that we have made on each book because
We're poor.
yeah, we don't have no teleprompter, just, Canon T3i. That's it.
Try and make the best of a weird situation.
Yep. So, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
All right, cool.
Okay, so for my list, I have a total of 5 books that I am most anticipating and then a couple of honorable mentions. I, for one, do not have the release dates for these books. These are all random ordered things, so I'll pick them up as they go. I know Joanne does have the release dates for her books list, and they're quite different. That's what we found out. We may have like 1 or 2 books that are actually kind of the same, but for the most part, they're pretty different. So my first book is The Orphan Queen, and this is by Jodi Meadows. The reason why I picked this particular book is because I like this, the plot behind it. You have a queen or a princess in this case named Wilhelmina who has been, for all purposes, she has been taken away from her home along with all of the other noble children in the area of Skybell. And her whole purpose is to try and figure out a way to get back home and to take back her throne. I love this. You start off with a really strong character and she already has a purpose and she's not one of those damsel in distress type of deals. I love that. Anybody who's willing to work for it, number 1 in my book. All right, number 2. All right, this one is, how do I say this? It's controversial with the two of us, only for the fact that we read that the author, Betsy Cornwell, has a similar book series already.
I don't even think it's a series. I just think it's a book that the premise is very similar.
Yeah. So here's the premise for the book. The book features young Nicolette, who has, of course, awful stepsisters and a mean stepmother. They call her Mechanica because she likes to invent like her late mother did. So you can already tell from the sounds of it, it's very Cinderella-esque, where you have stepsister, stepmother, downtrodden orphan girl in a bad situation. I like that you have her as an inventor. I think that's kind of cool. Anytime you have a girl in the STEM field of any type, it's always an awesome idea. So I can't wait to read it. I plan on reading the other book in conjunction to this so I can compare and see just how alike they really are with the same author. So look out for that. My next book is called The Laws of Magic. Short, sweet, and to the point, you have a ragtag group of heroes who are banding together to not just save the world, they're trying to save the universe itself. The universe is about to die. Like, literally. They have, like, in the sentence, is like the last days of the universe.
I feel like it should be like, dun, dun,
dun. So, I'm like, and it's like a really messed up group of people. It has, 3, what are we looking at here? 3 days left to save the universe, and you have great magicians who are teamed up with spell makers, a brilliance of a bear, a cloned human child, a mutant Erebant, 3 dragon brothers, a poet. Really? A poet? Come on. Like, how does he even get in there? But so I can't wait for that just for the randomness of the plot alone.
I feel like it's like Guardians of the Galaxy mixed with Half Prince, if you've ever read that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So can't wait to read this just for the randomness of it. Where am I at? Book number 4. Book 4 is called The Crown of Cold Silver. This book is by Alex Marshall, and in bold print, like capital letters, here's part of it. 5 villains, 1 legendary general, and a final quest for vengeance. Sounds like your typical fantasy quest. And hey, that's great. Why mess up a good thing? I think that's going to be kind of cool, mainly for the fact that in this particular case, your hero is a female. who is a pretty much a battle tried and tested general at this point. Keep in mind, she's a general. Her name is Cobalt. I'm gonna say this wrong. Is it Zosia? Something like that. Something along those lines.
Cobalt. Yeah.
Zosia. So I'm thinking it's Cobalt Zosia, but for the most part, she's a general. Can we start with that? She's a general.
I'll focus on her military command rank.
I mean, I'm just saying, how many female generals do you guys know anywhere in the world? Can you actually name them? So, yeah.
Well, this excludes all military personnel because you'll probably be like, well, I know.
Of course.
As common folk, we're not privy to such knowledge.
Usually, I mean, let's say, I'm a social studies teacher, so I already know my kids tend to learn about all the male generals. You really hear about female generals. So this is like up there with me on that one, just on that level alone. And my last and final book from my most anticipated this year is called The Scarlet Gospel. Scarlet Gospel, I'm going to read a little bit of excerpt from this one, so give me a moment. The Scarlet Gospel takes readers back many years to the early days of two of Baker's, and the author's name is Clive Barker's most iconic characters in the battle of good and evil as old as time. The long beleaguered detective Harry Dearmore, investigator of all things supernatural and magical and malevolent crimes, faces off against his formidable and intensely evil rival Pinhead, the priest of hell. Now, let's stop there. You see how Joanne is like turning away from me right now? Well, this is because of the Pinhead part of this.
Listen. Alright, I am not a fan of scary movies. I have never liked scary movies. I have watched some only because I was forced to, generally by my sister or my brother, or some friends sometimes have tricked me into watching scary movies. However, what is that, Hellraiser?
Yes.
Where the guy has all the, I don't know, I hear Pinhead, I think dude from Hellraiser, and it's just bad train of thought. So that's one book I know for sure. Like, I saw that and I was like, yeah, nope.
So, and see, the reason why I particularly picked it up is because I pretty much read the lines, detective of all things supernatural, magical, and malevolent crimes. That kind of read Harry Dresden for me. So if anybody's ever read the Dresden Files, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And that kind of read that way. I want to see if it's anything like the Dresden Files or if it's its own pretty much standalone type of thing that it can't have no comparison. It can hold its own against itself. So I really am looking forward to that. My honorable mentions are The Pyramids of London, which turns out it's going to be a trilogy. I want to say trilogy, yeah. This is by Adria Host. Next one is A Thorn of Dotton Hill, a novel of the Meridine, and last but not least, Karen Memory, which might work its way up there after I've read these things like multiple times. Sounds really, really good. Kind of a Jack the Ripper type of deal with this one. And steampunk, which I love. So that's my list for this year. Rest assured, I plan on reading a lot of books. That's just me. I'm one of those, what you call a book addict.
Yeah, she might get through like the whole list, which is cool.
And just go to another list.
Right, just pick one. Goodreads has a lot of great lists.
Oh,
If
yes.
you guys aren't on there, just
really good.
check 'em
So
out.
if you guys aren't on Goodreads, please look it up.
This is by no way an endorsement.
No,
because as you
no,
can
it's
see,
not.
We have like no sort of pull or sway, but
Unfortunately.
we just really like books and they have
Yes.
good lists. So
They
there
do.
you go. All right. So my list is in an order of how I want to read them, although that depends greatly because of the release dates. So although they are ranked 1 through 5 on how I want to read them, some of them later in the list or my list come out before other ones that are earlier. So I'm still probably just gonna read them when I have time or when they're available. Okay, so a couple caveats here. I really wanted to stay away from books that are in series, but sometimes that doesn't happen. And
Can't really help that. It seems like fiction
fantasy,
writers.
Yeah, fiction writers tend to put books in series because series are so popular and you get
Yeah.
like a movie deal and you can just keep making money. So I don't know. And also I feel like if you write a book, you should stand on the merit of your book and the quality of your book, and your publisher, if they want to publish this book, they should be behind you. So I don't like when, and I quote A book describes itself as being the epic fantasy of George R.R. Martin to the vivid historical adventure of Bernard Cornwell. I feel like a book should be able to stand on its own. So any descriptions I read like that in the list, I tend to, oh, nope, next. That type of advertising doesn't work for me. Like if you're gonna tell me a Honda car is better than, or like a Chevy is just as good as this Honda that came out, I'm probably gonna get the Honda. Just because you're comparing it to, I'm like, oh, so that's what you based it on. All right, cool, I'm getting that. So that's just me. All right. So book number 1 is called Radiance by Catherine M. Valente. It is expected 8/15/2015. I just fell in love with the possibility of this book after I read the descriptor, and I quote, "Radiance is a deco-punk, pulp, sci-fi, alt history, space opera mystery set in a Hollywood and solar system very different from our own."
That sounds all kinds of epicness.
Exactly.
And exaggerated extra.
It is. And I kind of like stuff like that. And I also like that the author kind of took jabs at Edison just in those. I don't know if the author wrote the description or who wrote the description for the book, but I like that there's some jabs at Edison holding on, the Edison family holding on to patents, because that is so true.
Yeah. It is.
I also like that it was about an alternate solar system and how this woman is a documentary filmmaker against like her family's wishes or something. So I'm really interested to see how this story is narrated. Is going to come off as just a documentary following her. It's going to follow her and then shooting the documentary. Like, I'm just really interested to see the possibilities of this book and what happens with it. Okay. All right, book numero dos is the 5th season. It's part of the Broken Earth series. It's book number 1. It's by N.K. Jemisin. Sorry if I butchered your name. It is expected August 4th of 2015. This book is about a woman who suffers a huge personal tragedy, and she's trying to find her daughter in a world-ending type situation, kind of like an apocalypse scenario. I'm a sucker for mother stories. I'm looking forward to reading this. And I think anything kind of like based on apocalyptic type situations make good stories. Like, I don't know, it feels like a good premise for like building a story onto like a really like hardcore backdrop.
I mean, I like anything that's post-apocalyptic simply for the fact that you have to think of a lot of really creative ways to survive. So I can get with this. So
right. And if the story is good enough, then I won't focus on little things like, what do you mean, how to do, like that, what's that one series where all of a sudden the electricity just stopped and I was like, I can't watch this. This doesn't make any sense.
The City of Ember? That one?
No, it was a TV show.
Oh, Revolution.
Yeah,
That's what
I was like, wait, there's too many plot holes.
Yeah.
But yeah, City of Ember, I have to check that out. Book number 3 is called Uprooted by Naomi Novik, expected June 30th this year. As a general rule, if there are magic and woods involved in a story, there is a very high probability that I will read said story. Uprooted, no exception. Creepy woods, check.
Yes.
Girl wanting to protect her friend, from a wizard called the Dragon, check.
Awesome.
Pre-announced plot twist, not really here for that, but I'm still gonna read the book. Just because I want to see how the story plays out. Book number 4 is 12 Kings and Sherakai, The Songs of the Shattered Sands, book number 1. This is by Bradley P. Bello.
We're sorry if she's
So
butchering
sorry.
your
I know,
name.
I hate it when people butcher my name, but sorry. I greatly apologize because I know how you're feeling right now. I know how you're feeling. It is expected sometime in August of this year. Woo, August. It is a girl, this is my kind of rough descriptive of what I read of the description, so bear with me. A girl hard on her luck in a city plagued by iron-fisted rulers that have a deal with creatures of the night to keep their 400-year rule going. Add desert locales, sprinkle in ancient words and clues, and you have one eagerly awaiting Joe. I don't care if it's a start to a series because the description is just that good. I'm also hoping that the cover art is awesome, and if the author perchance happens to fall upon this, I hope that you check out mfkcomic.com. Nyla has some amazing desert scenes, so you really should just check it out if you need to come up with a cover, because hit her up because her drawing of desert scenes are Superb. Number 5 on my list, was an honorable mention for Angelic, is The Pyramids of London, The Trifold Age, book number 1, by Andrea K. Host. It is due next month, February, coming up. Looking for it. Let's see. This deals with ancient Rome motifs, ancient Egyptian motifs, and a place called Britannia, which I'm guessing is loosely based off of Britain. It seems like they have some little steampunk elements in there. You got goddesses and weather vampires. I know. Let that marinate. A weather vampire. So vampires that control the weather. That's cool. That's a different premise. And covered up deaths and a family member that's being sold to like some vampire cartel. I don't know who wouldn't want to read this, because that sounds exciting to me.
A vampire cartel. let that marinate.
If someone sees that, please make a story about a vampire cartel, like in a crazy way, not like the typical like we've got drugs and money. Honorable mentions: Mechanica, which was on her list. Betsy Cornwell. It's also expected in August.
Yes, it is.
Just because I chose this book as an honorable mention, I was not really interested in the story because I tend to lean more towards the darker versions of the Grimm stories. So this didn't seem dark enough for me in that sense. But I also really like the cover art, and I like that she's in the STEM field.
Wait, she up here saying that she likes the darker Grimm stuff, but she doesn't like horror movies.
Grimm stuff wasn't horror. Like they're like, okay, you need to understand that this is happening, so you learn this lesson, children. Don't go out there in the woods by yourself at night because you're gonna get eaten. Like they were like, just this is how it is. Disney kind of was like, oh, it's all sunshine and fairy tales. Grimm was like, nah, son, don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay.
Oh my god.
My other honorable mention is the Book of Phoenix, Who Fears Death 0.1. So it's a prequel to a book already released by Nindi Okafor. Sorry. Expected May 5th, 2015. She wrote the book Who Fears Death, which is actually next on my book list after I finished reading Stardust, which happened to be my favorite movie. And I was like, oh, hey, it's a book. Oh, hey, it's by Neil Gaiman, my favorite author. But I digress. So I just, depending on how it goes with reading Who Fears Death, because reviews I have read are kind of mixed on it. I think maybe it's due to the cultural barriers, since the author is kind of pulling from her like Nigerian heritage. So a lot of people who have reviewed it may not understand that. So depending on how I like that book, then I'll probably read the Book of Phoenix, which deals with the backstory of one of the characters and Who Fears Death. And that's my list.
Awesome. So, I do want to make sure that we do a little bit of an honorable mention reading wise. This is more for a webcomic and for an entire collection of comics called The Hive Works.
Oh yeah.
They're freaking amazing. They have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and they have a partnership with other online comic communities, which I think is great because, especially now with like the internet and everything, it's so much easier to just post something online and have people read it that way, and you can have people directly support your art. We'll be doing like another video and a longer post more so about online comics that we particularly enjoy.
Yes.
A lot of them are Hive comics or that we found through Hive, so it's very cool.
It's awesome.
It's very exciting, and that's like, it's really inspiring just to know that people are out there following their dreams and their passions, and that other people are supporting them too. And sometimes you don't have to worry about the big overheads of worrying about trying to get into like a big agency like DC or Marvel. A lot of smaller agencies have been able to come up and do a lot more with the internet, so it's really cool.
Praise the internet.
Praise. Okay.
But anyway, so this is pretty much the start of our semi-regular showings of videos. We hope that you guys stay with us and that you guys tell us what is it that you want to hear from us. What do you want to know about, and what would you like to learn? Leave everything that you have to think in your brains in the comments below.
And we'll see you next time. Later days.
Salutations. Bye.